I was raised in the best time on the planet. I had a childhood. I climbed up trees that were too high. I fell out of them. I got sap in my hair. I went down wells. I went in drainage ditches. We were out till dark and no electronics. The only way we knew was everyone knew the hangout spot. Everyone knew you had to bike there 15 minutes. And if no one showed up, you waited. There were no cell phones. If you were raised in the 70s or 80s, you were literally born at the best time in human history.
If I asked you right now, like, who can afford children, who would you say?
Nobody. The debasement of our monetary system is absolutely a significant part of the ruination of cultures and societies. I will go a step deeper. The disillusion of the family is where it starts. My children will never understand a world without the mobile device. This technology has taken over, and the worst part is that 90% of the entire world are NPCs. They outsource parenting to a mobile device. Their children despise them. Sir, you failed. You failed. At your deathbed will be your children. Not your investors, not your network partners, not your private equity guy, not your drinking buddy. It's going to be your wife and your kids. The test of man to me is, do your children in old age still like you enough to hang out with you? My parents abandoned me. I was an orphan. I had 3 distinct worldviews. Number 1, no one's coming to save you. Number 2, you have to fight to survive. And number 3, very, very important, alliances matter.
Down the rabbit hole. Down. Cypherpunk'd. Rabbit.
Welcome back to another episode of Cypherpunk'd, where we explore money's history, crypto's future, and Web3's role in advancing human rights, freedom, and digital liberty. Today's guest is Peter Saddington, better known online as Agile Peter, a 2011 Bitcoin OG who famously bought a Lamborghini Huracan with 45 Bitcoin, turning an early $115 position into one of the most iconic flexes in crypto history. He's a software engineer turned serial entrepreneur and venture investor, a certified scrum trainer who has coached thousands, and the founder of Bitcoin Racing US, a 501c3 race team using motorsports to drive Bitcoin adoption across colleges and universities. With 3 graduate degrees, a PhD abandoned by choice, multiple startups and funds under his belt, and a life story that spans adoption, autism, faith, and high-speed racing, Peter brings a rare mix of technical depth, psychological insight, and zero bullshit conviction about freedom, sovereignty, and what it really takes to win over decades, not just cycles. Let's get into it. Welcome, my man.
Wow, man, that was like the best introduction I've ever had. Holy shit, you totally surprised me with some of the depth of some of these nuances. Amazing, man.
Dude, you gave me that N8N, so I just went in there and just like I put my 80 hours in 10 minutes and just cooked it up.
Bro, look at this chef cooking it up. Look at this guy. He's a regular Einstein.
Oh, man.
It's good to see you again, brother.
Good to see you too, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, and man, when I came in here, I had to like send my wife a video of like, because we're arriving in a PJ, right? You know, the meme, PJ, private jet. And I was like, oh, what's going on? It's just really nice digs you got here.
I can take you out onto the tarmac if you want and just, we can just do a fake flex,
Bro, let's go for the gram. Let's go for the gram, guys.
Oh, man. So you call yourself a polymath autist. What does that mean?
Well, actually, I didn't name that. Sean O'Hannessy, who you know, he actually called me that in our interview years ago. He said, "You're a polymath because you have multiple degrees, you've done multiple things." And that's exactly what a polymath is someone who endeavors to a point of competency. Now, will I ever say I'm an expert in anything? No. But one of my superpowers, Matt, is the ability to learn exceptionally quick. And so I've taken that in all facets of my life. And I'll give you an example. My son learned Rubik's Cube. And I said, this was when he was younger. I said, well, teach me. What a great lesson for, I think he was 9 years at the time. It's like, teach me how to do Rubik's Cube because I've never done it before. And so he, as a great opportunity with my son, I allowed him to teach me day by day. Here's the one move you need to memorize.
Mm.
And here's the next move that you need to memorize. And then I'd ask him questions. And he taught me how to do a Rubik's Cube. Now, I got to a point where it's like, okay, I can do this now. And then I started iterating on it. I get faster and faster.
Mhm.
Now, am I an expert in Rubik's Cube? No. But can I forever now do that thing? That is what a polymath is someone who gets to a level of competency where they can competently, maybe even with a little bit of sophistication, be able to do that thing where it's not a loss. The autist is, well, I was diagnosed with high functional autism back in the 90s. This is no longer used as a term because
they gave me ADHD in the 90s and tried to force me to take all these pills.
Yeah. And so like there's a lot of made up psychology bullshit back in the day too. But like, high functional was deemed woke, or you're not allowed to say it because it's offensive. It essentially means that you're able to function in society as with autism, but you might have some, let's say, social missteps. For me, it's a lack of empathy. And what I mean by that is sometimes I just can't read the room. And I will say the thing that's on my mind, like, the thing that you're not to say.
You're not supposed to say, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you should have left that in your head.
Mhm.
So I'm, my wife would be like, you're the worst at cocktail parties where you don't know anybody. It's first impressions up, right? And whatever comes out of your mouth is going to set the tone for how they believe who you are. And I'm the guy, in a cocktail party with my wife, with all our lawyer friends and all that stuff. And I'll be like, so, have you ever thought about flat Earth? It's just like, because, and so that's kind of how my autism displays itself. But what I really can appreciate the most about it is that I don't have a filter. I see the world for what it is. I see the patterns for what it is. And my anecdotes in my life is exactly what it is. And if you disagree with it, that's fine. But we don't have to get mad about our disagreements. Or
it's probably actually helpful in a lot of ways, because when someone's authentic, you feel drawn to that.
That's a great
I
way
feel
to
drawn
put it.
to authentic people.
Yeah, you just cut through the bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? This is...
Because everybody's always operating in this, like,
Yeah.
this kind of, they don't want to reveal themselves. They just want to project some fake identity
Yeah.
beyond the mask. And I personally hate that.
I love that you said it that way. Like, I believe in radical authenticity. And I believe in radical transparency. And I live this out through all of my investments, through all of my projects, is that I'm the guy on Discord the most. I'm the one telling you what I'm doing. I'm telling you what's going on. And that radical transparency has bit me in the ass for sure in business building, because some things you need to hold close to the vest. But I think deferring to...
I know we were out there, you're giving me all your business ideas, just throwing it out. I'm like, bro, like, come be my CTO. I'll hand you the keys to the kingdom. I'm not going to go try to build it without you, but I want you to be a part of it.
Right.
That's how I think about it.
My model of operating is give away everything for free. It has no
people
value.
are so scared to give away ideas and stuff. But the thing is, people don't realize is like 99.9% of people just are not going to. You could give them literally the best idea in the world, and they're just not going to do anything with it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like
that's it. So being an autist, pseudo intellectual polymath, I'm constantly making risk assessments. I'm constantly looking at large swaths of data. It's how I constantly am creating frameworks and models in my brain around how the world works, and I am deeply aware, like deeply situationally aware. Like I knew my superpower, my autistic superpower of pattern recognition began in middle school. Like I was the guy in middle school, and I'd say, well, there's the goths, there's the jocks, there's the nerds. And like everyone intrinsically sees those different groupings, but I would take it a step further. It's like, let's watch their behavior patterns. Why do they show up at this time? Why does that matter? Like, and so I'd be the type of guy that would dig a little bit deeper under the skin. And so for me, pattern recognition, large data, and seeing the way that the world the way that it is, and being able to just communicate it, I think that's the autistic superpower there. Honesty, and just being honest about the way it is.
Now, you were adopted, right, from South Korea?
Yes, I
How
was.
is, and you now have 2 adopted children as well?
No, I have 2 natural born.
2 natural born children.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 natural born.
Oh.
So that actually is...
How did that shape you?
Yeah, that actually is the biggest blessing that I could ever imagine. So any expert in child psychology and early childhood formation will tell you that the first... Right. What did the Athenians and the Greeks say? Right. Give me the child for 7 years. I will show you the man. Right.
That's a
Because
great
the
quote.
first 7 years of life
It's so crucial.
is where you instill everything from disciplines to mental models to worldviews to psychology and to trauma. So my early substantiation of life was an orphan, right? So my trauma of my origination is that I had 3 distinct worldviews. Number 1, no one's coming to help you. No one's coming to save you. Number 2, you have to fight to survive. And number 3, very, very important, alliances matter. So even as a young child and as an orphan, I did not have words for these things, but I knew them.
Intuitively, you felt
Right.
it.
I had to fight for survival. No one's coming to save me. And my alliances with my homies allow me to get more bread at the table. And so that being the foundational mental models of my world, and then being blessed by the Lord Jesus to be adopted into a middle-class family. My father works at a hospital today. He's 78 years old. He makes $12.75 an hour. Middle bread, like middle America. They saved up $32,000. That's how much I cost back in the 70s.
Wow.
Man, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, man.
Back in the day.
Especially back in the 70s. That's like a house. That's 2 houses.
Brother.
Almost. Yeah.
Exactly. So, because they couldn't conceive, long story short, right? They couldn't conceive. So they looked up adoption. They adopted me, and so I always like to say that I'm doubly adopted, right? I'm adopted physically from being an orphan into a lower middle class white family. And then I was adopted by Jesus Christ as my savior. So I'm better than most people, is what I'm trying to say. But no. But let's get back to the foundation. Those foundational mental models of no one's coming to save you. You're all on your own. This was the biggest blessing, because what it created in me as a human, a motivation to absolutely succeed in anything.
Adversity, yeah.
Absolutely.
Massive, maximum adversity. I'm trying to with my kids, it's like they have everything they could need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how do you instill that adversity in them? I use sports to do it, right?
Yes.
And then one thing I always tell them, and it's like, even since both of them were little kids, was exactly kind of what you said, no one's coming to save you, where it's like that comes out in this idea of like, oh, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair. Like, since my kids have been very little, I tell them life is not fair.
Life's not fair.
It will never be fair.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'll give you the model that has worked for me. Never do for your children what they can do for themselves. That's it. If they can do it, if you believe that it's within their cognitive capability, their sophistication and maturity level, that they're able to do it, then let them do it and let them struggle. Right? And so for me and my son, who's, a pro race car driver, as a teenager, like he has—
How old's your son?
12.
12, okay.
Oh, he's about to be 13.
Yeah,
so
my
he's
son just
13.
turned 13.
Yeah. So he's actually going to be turning 13 this week at the championship race here in Miami Homestead. Like, and I'm delivering him his new car. So it's like the best 13-year-old birthday.
That's awesome.
But yeah, like, that's it. Never do for your children what they can do for themselves. That will grow them independence, number 1. It'll grow them problem solving, number 2. And number 3, if you have a great communication channel with your children, it'll create conversations that matter. Right? My best feedback loop, Matt, and I'm just going to give this to you, because I want you to take this and contextualize it to your life with your children, because I love that you're having children. I love that you're having 3. It makes my heart so glad. The best feedback loop in my life, Maddie, is when I build the car for my son. Hundreds of hours into this. He goes out. He tests it. He comes back. He says, Appa, I need camber here. I need caster. I need toe. Right side, right here. Let's change this. Tune this. We go on the data. Data's legit. Let's make the change. He goes back out. And he performs better. Maddie,
I love that.
for me to have that feedback loop in the machine that I built with my own hands, for the progeny that I created, the love of my life, blazing down home, Miami Homestead, $125, I think he's going on the back straight, coming in turn 1, right? And to see him, and then he talks to me. He tells me how to make the machine better. Maddie, for a builder like me, there is nothing more important on this planet than that feedback loop and that communication moment.
That's so cool.
That's it. Do that for your children. Find opportunities to build with them, create with them, and have them say, Appa or Daddy, Father, tell me more. Help me with this. And it's like, yes, yes. And then I think as a man, you have probably lived quite a sufficient life.
And man, I can really empathize with what you're saying right now. It's, I have a similar feeling. I'm working with my son. He's really starting to get into football deeply. He's a quarterback. So
Awesome.
I was a college quarterback. So
Awesome.
like that same feedback loop that you're describing of,
Awesome.
hey, here's my film. Let's look at this together.
Yes.
Okay, I can change this. Here's my throwing mechanics.
Yes.
I can change that.
Love
So I tweak that and I see what I did here. So I can totally empathize with what you're describing.
Yes,
That feeling. Yes.
because not only in that
You just see them grow, right? You're
Yes.
seeing that growth. You're seeing that. I mean, it's an incredible feeling as a father. It makes you very proud.
nothing you're going to do on this planet is greater than that.
Mm.
Period. Full stop. I don't care if you got $1 million, $10 million, $1 billion. It doesn't matter. At your deathbed will be your children, not your investors, not your network partners, not your private equity guy, not your drinking buddy. It's going to be your wife and your kids. I'll tell you this. I work and rub shoulders with men and women of industry who are worth 1,000 times more than I'll ever be worth, and it doesn't actually matter. But I will tell you this. The greatest failing of their lives is not that they've built multi-million-dollar companies and made all this money and own jets and stuff. Their children despise them. Sir, you failed. You failed. Your own children despise you. You failed.
I agree.
That's it. That's like the test of man to me. Like,
Mm.
the test of man to me is, do your children in old age still like you enough to hang out with you?
Wow.
That's it.
Still processing that. Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, we just, that's,
So let me give you why that context matters. My parents abandoned me. I was an orphan. My adoptive parents picked me up. Praise the Lord.
how old were you when they adopted you?
11.
11.
So like most orphans, they age out at 18. You have a 98% chance of aging out. You don't get adopted.
Wow.
You go on the streets. So
That's sad,
the
man.
chances for me, like, I would have fucking crushed it, bro. With my attitude and my perseverance and my character, dude, I'd have been fucking like running the streets of Seoul. Busan. I'd be one of the biggest. I'd be fucking gangster with it. By 19, I'd be probably running half the block, right? Like, no cap.
Yeah.
Like, no cap. So like when people, I like to joke about it, but like I truly believe the way that me getting hardened as an orphan, as any orphan does, like if you have that survival, at least the inkling towards survival and at least a little bit of motivation to get past the hump of just not surviving, then you can thrive, because there's nothing harder than the hard knocks of being an orphan, right? And growing. Then if you're lucky, you get to be adopted. Then you have to go through the entire like mixed race and all the being made fun of. We were living in the South, so that didn't help, right? It's like you look like your friends, you never look like anybody else, and you don't know the language. So there's all that trauma too,
Yeah.
right? So
How long did it take you to learn when you came? So you didn't know any English when you came to America?
No, yeah, I only spoke Korean. Yeah,
You
so I
spoke
spoke
Korean.
Korean to my parents. They used to call me Bop Boy.
Did they speak Korean back to you?
No, they didn't know Korean.
They didn't know.
They're just ignorant, man. They're just filling a void, which sounds bad. No, but they couldn't conceive, so they wanted children. So I was an option back then, but they don't have it anymore because they've closed down international adoption in Korea now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, South Korea seems to be doing really well. Is like compared to North Korea.
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like back in the 90s, it was the jam to own a Sony, right? Remember that?
Mhm.
Back in the 90s, it was a jam to own the Sony. Now, right, you want to own a LG, you want to own a Samsung, right, a Korean brand. Now, the only problem with Korea right now is they are the #1 country on the planet with the lowest population, replacement rate.
Really?
Yeah.
Worse than China. Worse than
No cap.
the UK.
I think it's 2072. But you only think, well, that's not far. Dude, if you're in your 40s, like, dude, we're almost there. Like, time goes by fast. 2072, Korea's going to be like gone.
Are you serious?
No cap.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are they going to do about that? What is the whole world going to do about that? I know
well-
Elon talks about this a lot.
Well, the solution for the globalists is flood every
Illegal
country
immigrant.
with
Illegal
immigrants,
immigrant,
right? Replacement. And they say it's a replacement theory, but I mean, they've created, entire plans that you can find, Agenda 2030 and all these types of things, where they literally say this is the replacement theory. It's a hypothesis. It's a simulation. They've run the game. They know how to do this. And so, if you just look at it objectively, population decline in first world countries is a fact everywhere.
Yeah.
So if we just look at it objectively, population decline is a fact.
Why do you think it is a fact? Like, why do you think it's happening? I have a theory on it, but I want to hear your theory first.
Well, it's this. It's this. So how old are you, Maddie?
I'm 30. I want to say 33, 34, one of those two ages.
What?
I was born in 1991. Let's do the math real quick. So I think 34.
Okay. So that's funny that he's like having a hard time coming up with his birthday, because I actually don't know my birthday because I'm adopted and I was orphaned.
Oh, so you really don't know what your actual birthday is? So you just pick one, or how does that work?
Well, they gave me one when I came to America.
Did they give you did they do like genetic testing to figure it out, or they just said
70s and 80s? But come on, get out of here. Ninja plays.
How old are you?
All right. I'm just say 44, 45 is the range, right? So we find, because there's no documentation for children who were adopted in like the 70s and 80s, especially after the Korean War and everything was like ravaged, right, by the Japanese, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like there's no documentation. So there's often with most adoptees with no documentation, a six month differential on either side. So, over under 6 months is, so my birthday is like, you could say November, but I could be born the next year, or I could have been born 6 months earlier. So actually, anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, in my mid 40s, I thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. Thank you. My gratitude always first. I was born in a time when everyone who was raised in the 70s and 80s heard the same thing, which was, go find something to do, or I'll find something for you to do. And we were all raised with the second saying, which was, don't come home until the sun goes down. And so I was raised in the best time on the planet. I had a childhood. I climbed up trees that were too high. I fell out of them. I got sap in my hair. I went down wells. I went in drainage ditches. Right? We rode our bikes down into the drain area. Like we were out till dark, and no electronics. The only way we knew was everyone knew the hangout spot. Everyone knew you had to bike there 15 minutes. I was living up in Jersey at the time, right? Like and if no one showed up, you waited. Right? There were no cell phones, no internet. And so, like, if you were raised in the 70s or 80s, you were literally born at the best time in human history, because you actually had a childhood. You actually know what it feels like in a pre-technology world where everyone's glued to these mobile devices all the time. My children will never understand a world without the mobile device, right? But I know the contrast.
Yeah. I was right on the cusp when I was in, like, this first cell phones were kind of like coming available to me when I became like a teenager. It was like not everybody had one. Only a couple kids had like a cell phone.
I was in college with no cell phone. Imagine that.
That's crazy.
No cell phone in college. How did you know? You went to the main library. You hung out where everyone, wanted to get coffee. Like it was this social chain, and everything was localized, man. Everything was local. You cared about your local constituent. You cared about your local. You knew your neighbor. You did barbecues with them. You knew the twins down the road. You knew the retarded kid up the hill. like you knew that you knew everyone knew Shirley, right? And why
people are popping into my mind as you're saying.
Why she walked funny, right? Like, we knew the neighborhood mattered, Maddie, back then, and that is why the world
used to have a kid named Slick in my neighborhood.
Yeah,
he was like, he wasn't retarded, but he was a little slow. He was a great kid, though.
That's why you call him Slick.
We call him Slick.
Yeah,
we called him Slick.
Exactly.
What's up, Slick?
What's up, Slick? And so that is what happened. Is that this technology, this mobile device, the internet has taken over. And the worst part is, and something you and I were talking about before we started recording, is that 90% of the entire world are NPCs. And so, unfortunately, 90% of the world being NPCs, they outsource parenting to a mobile device.
Yes, I see it all the time, and I'm even, we're even guilty of it. The biggest issue, because I grew up the same way. We go outside, you come home when it's dark, and you hear the bell or whatever it is to come home, and that was it. But Now it's like my wife, she's like, I don't want the kids going. I don't know who's out there, but you hear all the stuff about crazy
Yeah.
people doing shit. So you just don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just like, let them go. And she's like, no, I don't want, I would worry. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want them to,
Well,
anything bad to happen.
but that's where you as a parent
Yeah.
choose what neighborhood you want to live in.
Mm,
So
point.
again, so I chose with my wife to build a house in a
Mhm.
very safe neighborhood
smart.
so that my kids would be able to go outside, ride your bikes, don't come home until it's dark.
Mm,
Now we live in a very small town up in Georgia where
Mhm.
I literally can walk from my house to the little downtown where there's a coffee shop, the
Mhm.
barber, the
Yeah.
pizzeria. So like very homey, so very American. Like I've totally taken that on, and so we chose that spot so that they could ride to the park within 7 minutes. They could ride around the neighborhood, and that's a parental decision that you can
Yeah.
make
That's
so
true.
that your children can have some semblance of a youth that you got to have. Right.
So that brings me to my thought on this whole situation about why people aren't having babies. And
Tell me.
so if I asked you right now, like, who can afford children, who would you
Ugh.
say?
Nobody.
So only the super rich and wealthy,
Yeah.
and then only the poorest of the poor who are living fully on welfare can afford children.
Exactly.
So the entire lower middle class, the middle class, upper middle class,
Yeah.
that has to actually pay for it,
They're cooked.
can't afford it.
They're cooked.
They literally cannot afford it.
They're cooked.
Why though? Why did that happen? I go back and I say it's because of the destruction of the money.
Ooh.
And this is why Bitcoin hits so hard, because if you look at all these things, the cost of a house, nobody can afford a house.
Yeah.
Childcare is a massive cost. Who's can afford childcare?
Mm.
All these things go back, in my mind, to the destruction of the money.
Mm.
So if you look at the demographic data, when did people stop having children? Like when did that happen? I would argue that there is a strong correlation between
1971.
I would argue that there's a very strong correlation to the slow destruction of the money,
Yeah.
and the money printer,
Yeah.
and the massive increase in asset prices,
Starting in 1913.
and the purchasing power loss, which has really hit lower middle class people, middle class people, etc.
Right there with
So right now, the only people having children are the Somali pirates we're flying in that
Yeah.
are having much babies, living on welfare, or wherever else we're bringing in people from all over the world.
Yeah.
That are fully living on welfare, exploiting the system,
Yes.
living off the taxpayer.
100%.
And then the extremely wealthy people who can,
Absolutely.
I'm blessed to be wealthy enough to afford to have kids and do all the things that I can do. But 9 out of probably 10 of my people my own age that I know, friends, etc., can't afford to buy a house, can't afford to have kids, can't afford the stuff that goes with them.
Yes.
And it's limiting how many kids you can have, right? Like,
I absolutely agree. The destruction of the money starting in 1912, 1913 with the creature of Jekyll Island, I'm sure you've read, and the creation of the Federal Reserve, right? This is a tale as old as time, right? All of the kingdoms of the past, their ruination has always been part of the money system. Right? Your monetary policy dictates essentially in a lot of ways the longevity of your civilization. However, Maddie, I'll do you one deeper. While I completely agree that the debasement of our monetary system and the monetary value that we have is absolutely a significant part of the ruination of cultures and societies, I will go a step deeper. The disillusion of the family is where it starts, which is why it brings me so much joy to know that you are married and you have children and you are working as a couple to raise them as a full unit. The disillusion of the family. Let me back up. The entire planet, in my opinion, would be 1,000 times better if we had families intact.
I agree completely. And I will even go deeper than that and say this also has to do with the money. Because what are the things that what have we done to the black family in America too?
We have incentivized breaking up
There
families.
you go.
Absolutely.
And how do you do that?
Right.
With the money.
Right. And
I call it fiat fraud. That's what I call it.
Fair enough.
You can print all this money to do all these programs and all these different
I think
things.
we're hitting.
Show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcome.
Yeah, I think
So-
we're hitting the same issue from different vantage points.
Mhm.
And it actually is this insane Ouroboros, right? That's eating itself, where the dissolution of the family being incentivized monetarily of the dissolution of the family accelerates the dissolution of the family, which means that good male leaders are being ousted, right? Families are being raised single family homes. Like, I am a product of the dissolution of the family. Now, because I'm an autistic retard with a deep motivation and an energy of 3 men, I've taken that trauma and all that suffering, Maddie, and I have channeled it into productive living. But not many can do that.
No, many don't.
Right.
Many don't.
Absolutely.
Many can't break through their trauma.
Absolutely.
I've got it in my own family. I've got family members that just can't,
Yeah.
Stuck in the cycle of addiction and using, drugs, alcohol.
So let me ask you this: how did you escape the fray then? How did you not become a product of trauma?
I saw what the trauma was and I said, I will never, ever fucking do this. I will never risk having my children exposed to this. I will never have this as part of my family.
Yeah.
So to this day, I don't drink alcohol. I never do drugs. I've never done either one of those things. And I think it's probably one of the best decisions that I've ever made in my life. And if I could give one thing to my kids, it would be that. Don't do drugs. Don't drink alcohol. Stay the fuck away from those things.
Yeah.
So that's
I love it. So I gave you the tail end of your life.
Mhm.
The tail end for you, Maddie, for the success of your life is, do your children want to hang out with you when you're old?
I love that.
That's it. Like, nothing else matters. Let me give you the beginning. I gave you the end. Let me give you the beginning. The beginning of children. The reason why everybody is fucked up, Maddie, is because your parents fucked you. My parents fucked me. They abandoned me. They left me. They fucked me. I had to forgive them, right? I had to go through the anguish of, like, especially after having my own children with my wife. Like,
yeah.
And, like, how
would you do it?
Could you ever imagine leaving your children?
No, never in a million years.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
You couldn't even
I couldn't even fathom of it. Yeah, no, I get it.
You couldn't even begin the mental process of planning it.
Yeah.
You're like, no.
It's unfathomable to me.
Yeah, you're so repulsed by the idea. So to get to a point where it's like, do or die, like, abandon this child, I do never understand what that decision means. But I know what the ramifications of that decision is on children. And so let me give it to you, all that context to say. The end of your life is, do your children love you and still want to hang out with you when you're old? The beginning of children is, your job is to not fuck your children like your parents fucked you. That's it. You'll say, what is the amalgamation of the law and the prophets? My answer is, don't fuck your children so that they want to be with you when you're dead. Every trauma, every suffering, every psychosis that you have is because your parents fucked you.
Have you ever met your biological parents after all this time? You have?
Yes.
Really?
Because I'm a hard worker.
Wow.
And I'm a researcher, right? I'm an autist. So
wow.
At 18 years old, I got access to my adoption files. And so I flew out to Korea, hired a private eye.
Wow.
And I searched for my birth mother and I found her.
No way.
Yeah. I can show you pictures.
No way.
Off camera.
Okay.
Yeah. I needed that closure.
How did that go? What happened? Tell me about it.
Well,
if you're okay talking about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to know, right? It's just, long story short, hired a private eye, went through the rounds, went through many emotional ups and downs through the journey of trying to find, and then realization of selfishness, realization of these types of things. Like most people don't realize, some people don't want to be found. Some people abandon their kids and their new families. You could make things worse by showing up a Thursday, be like, hey, I'm your long lost kid.
Yeah, of course.
Bro.
Yeah.
So, like, my private eye was so good with me as a 18-year-old moving into 20s, as it took years to do this, and guiding me and saying, look, you can spend all this money with me. I can help you find them, maybe. But also, when I find them, they might not want to see you ever. So you have to wrestle with not having the closure you want. I've met with so many adoptees and children of foster who have spent the time looking for their birth parents and finding that they don't want to connect.
Yeah.
Their entire identity was wrapped up in that mission, but you have no control over if they don't want to see you.
Yeah.
And so it's the ruination of them. I've seen men their entire lives destroyed because they've gone on multi-year-long searches for their birth parents, only to find out their birth parents said, fuck off.
How would you have dealt with that situation?
I don't know.
You don't know? Did you think about it ahead of time?
Hell no.
No,
I was immature.
Like, you were 18.
Naive. I was a neophyte.
Yeah.
I knew nothing. All I knew was that I had an ego, I had a hard work ethic, and I knew that with money, things are possible, and with hard work, things are possible. So we met with my private eye, found my birth mother, and we reconnected, and she was grateful. I met my new half brothers. I met my two uncles and their wives and their kids. So it's a blessing. It became a blessing because my family, literally my family, like doubled in size.
Yeah.
Right. Because when I hung out there for a week with them, broke bread with them. It was a great moment of reconciliation.
Really?
And also I got closure on my father. So the reason why I was adopted is because my father was boosting cars back in the 70s.
What does that mean?
A Grand Theft Auto.
Okay.
He was like before Grand Theft Auto was cool.
Okay.
Right? Like he was stealing. Like he was Saddington, which is like a leader of like some gang, and they supposedly, who knows, but supposedly they could boost 30 cars a night.
Jesus Christ!
Like, steal them, bring them to like a
break
facility,
them down,
strip them, export them before the sunrise.
That's unbelievable.
Like true, like Grand Theft Auto shit.
Yeah.
And the problem is in like Asian countries, jail time is a lot harsher than America, because in America you can actually stab someone on the neck on a bus
and they'll let you out.
They'll let you out 39 times.
Unbelievable that's been going on. So that's a side note. We can talk about that later. But I'm super interested in your story.
I see the world for what it is.
Yeah.
Right. In Asia, no bullshit.
Yeah.
You fuck around, you're doing life. You're doing life. So he impregnated my birth mother. She was like 14. So that didn't help too.
Yeah.
So he was like 17. And like leading a crew at 7. They made him different back in the 70s, right? 17, you're like an old man.
Yeah.
So he ended up getting arrested, like 14-year-old with a kid. It's like, what do you do? And so that's what my birth mother told me is the reason why, and I believe it.
I believe it too,
because I love cars.
Yeah.
I just decided to do it legally.
Was your fascination with cars before or after you found this out?
Oh, before, because I learned all this in my 20s after doing all the searches. So I mean, my son is a professional race car driver. So like, and I raced as a gentleman driver, pay driver.
So you were into cars before you even knew what your biological father had. That's incredible.
It was a genetic.
That's
interesting. A genetic disposition.
That's interesting.
Yeah, true.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So I can truly say that racing and speed and cars are in the blood, because my father went to jail stealing cars.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah.
Wow, this is such a cool conversation, bro. Thank you so much for sharing all this. This is just really interesting. What did your biological mother, did she say she regretted giving you up? Did she say that did she make the decision? Obviously, she made the decision to carry you to term. So
yeah.
I want to shout her out to that, because she gave an incredible gift to the world with all your brilliance and all of the innovation and all of the. So
I bring autism to the spectrum.
So even with the selfishness of, I mean, I don't even consider it selfish. She made that decision. She was 14 years old. She could have probably had an abortion, but she chose to give you life and bring you here.
Yeah, by the grace of God.
By the grace of God, and then look at all of the downstream effect of you coming into this world has been such a blessing for so many other entrepreneurs, investors, people.
Thank you.
So just by her decision of making that choice, even though it was a very hard choice, she could have, taken 3 different routes.
Oh yeah.
She maybe didn't take the best one, which would have been to try to raise you, but she didn't take the most selfish one, which would have been just have an abortion.
Absolutely.
So with giving you that life that you have now, look how many people you've impacted. That's just such an incredible story.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for being able to see it for what it is.
We'll take a quick break here. When we come back, this conversation only gets better.
So much of what happened, anybody can permissionlessly participate in this network. I can underline this system and grow this network. And by mining, you plug into this system, and you're just permissionlessly part of this open, decentralized protocol. And to me, I was like, this is amazing. This is so cool. It's why I've been so fascinated by it. And the mission of what Bitcoin is for humanity, I think, is extremely important. It's this beautiful freedom tool. No one's going to force you to do it. No one's going to stop you from doing it. But you were rewarded if you're an honest actor. If you use your energy to secure this network, you're going to be rewarded proportionally for providing that service. So as the network becomes more valuable, there's this price signal to the market. Hey, we need more miners because this network's growing in value. We need more security. But to me, that symbiosis was brilliantly designed by Satoshi. And I think Satoshi Nakamoto will win a Nobel Peace Prize and a Nobel Economics Prize. I think he deserves to win one as the anonymous individual who created this brilliant innovation for humanity.
Let's get back to Peter Saddington.
Right. And to answer your question, that was one of the questions that I could never conjure up to my birth mother. Being as analytical as I am, and I knew that the only time to ask that question would have to be in a moment of deep understanding. And we never had that moment. So I never asked my mother why. And I'm actually glad. Because it doesn't matter. What matters is that she made the decision, and through the sovereignty and the glory of God, I made it out somehow. Because statistically, I shouldn't be here. Right? And that for me is enough. All right. I got closure on that. I got closure on my birth father. I love the fact that he gave me genetically a disposition for speed. And I'm able to exact that with my son, something that my father never got to do with me. So the Lord is good and he heals, right? There's a great quote, right? That the Lord will heal what the locusts have eaten, right? And I think the Lord is good and sovereign in that. And he will take what your trauma and your pain, your suffering, and he will make that good. And I would go farther, Maddie, is that I know for a fact that the suffering and the trauma that you've gone through in life is exactly why you're good at what you do now. I know.
How did your adopted parents handle all of this? Did they encourage you to do this? They told you not to, or
no, they are my adopted parents, God bless them. I love them so much. They are middle America mental models, worldviews, simplicity. Nothing that any of this is wrong. They are just you love them for what they are, and they never added pressure. They were not. I had a great childhood. Right? It was just they're middle white bread America, very hands off, right? And they saw that they had this rambunctious adopted kid that didn't look like them, who had so much energy. Like we have VH tapes of me running around in New Jersey back in the day, and I was just full of energy, and I still am, right? And they just didn't know what to do with it, and they just said, hey, let's let him do his thing. And when I got 18, I left the house and I never looked back. I just started my own life.
You still I mean, how often do you talk to them?
I texted them. We have a group chat now.
Okay.
Group chat. So we're always talking.
Are they excited about all the stuff you're working on and doing? Are they proud of you? I'm sure they are.
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't know. We don't talk a lot about that stuff.
Oh, you don't talk about work or anything like that?
No. It's family's family. Like I rarely talk about work with my siblings, my parents. It's not germane, and the world of crypto, and many of them don't believe it in any way.
Yeah. It's
and
very
so
difficult to
I
explain.
have learned early on in life, Maddie, that convincing takes way too much energy. It is far better just to say your truth and allow the listener to judge you however they'd like to judge you.
I noticed that you also have a lot of different degrees, theology, counseling, all sorts of different things.
Yes.
What got you interested in all of those things?
That's my polymath. That's my brain. That's just how I want to learn everything. I'm constantly researching. Like for me, big data sets is my jam. Like that's the greatest thing about my undergrad in computer science, is I learned how to build huge data sets and be able to start coding it. Right. So I cut my teeth back in the mid-90s on classic ASP, right? C++, when C# came out later. Right. I was messing with ActionScript for Flash, Macromedia back in the mid-90s. Do you remember those 1-minute intro videos, Shockwave Macromedia, that you couldn't skip?
No.
Do you remember those? Those Macromedia Flash?
Vaguely.
Yeah. It was like in 1997, 1998, 1999.
I was like 6 or 7.
Well, I was the guy coding those, right, at Johnson & Johnson, Fortune 50 company back then. So like for me, I'm insatiable for knowledge. So I'm reading all the time. I'm writing all the time. I'm creating content all the time. And master's degree was a mechanism for me to understand 3 areas in the world that I thought were important to me for understanding how to do business. So I was very intentional with getting these 3 master's degrees. My first master's degree is a master's in education in with a focus in cognitive learning theory.
Mhm.
And so the focus is understanding how the brain works, how models are worldviews, models are created, how to see the world, how to organize the world, and how people, right, how you can, in a lot of ways, trick people and these types of things. And then my second master's degree is in counseling and organizational behavior, and the focus there is how do people groups work, how do mass data sets work, how can we create predictions based on mass movements, mass psychosis events, these types of things. Psyops is a huge thing. Like I was so into that early because I was like, these are mass psychosis events.
When the whole COVID thing happened, did you see that for what it was instantly, or
Instantly,
really?
right? Instantly, right? I mean, when the Challenger, like when I heard about the Challenger blowing up, do you remember when that happened?
No.
Look, what year was the Challenger blowing up? I forget. It was 1986. I forget. But,
Before my time.
Yeah, but it was that's a hoax, right? Because like they said, all these astronauts blew up, and all those astronauts are alive today, right? So like I saw things early on for what it was. Like 9/11 was my
That's right, 86.
yeah. So like 9/11 was my biggest wake up, right? When I learned that 3 buildings fell on 9/11, I was like, fuck it, it's all fake and gay.
That's what Paul says as well. I don't know if I'm not fully convinced on that one.
Most people in the world still don't know that 3 buildings fell on 9/11.
So that building 11, right? That's the other one that was over there.
Yeah.
So
the hypothesis is that infrastructure for building the Twin Towers flew a block and a half away, hit this building 7, and created fires so much that the building collapsed just like a controlled demolition.
So
get the fuck out of here.
So because I was actually initially very intrigued about that as well, because Paul's our producer is always telling me about that, and when I looked into it, the explanation that I saw seemed plausible enough for me, which was that there was a fire, like obviously the Twin Towers, the planes went in and they went down pretty quickly. Though that there was a lot of demolition, destruction.
Sure,
all of the firefighters went in to try to save people, so you had the whole fire force going to that location, and obviously smoke, different things. My understanding was that other building burned for like 7 or 8 hours. So it wasn't just like it just caught on fire and went down. It was like it burned. It was on fire for 7 to 8 hours. And then the thing I was looking at about the steel structure, obviously it's not enough to melt steel, but you don't need to melt the steel fully. All you need to do is cause it to lose.
This guy's literally repeating back Mockingbird media talking points. I feel like I'm listening I feel like I'm listening to 2002 like media.
Yeah, please.
I was in college then, so trust me.
So I mean, to me that sounds plausible enough. I mean, I don't know.
I would love to chime
Well,
in.
tell me
on this,
more.
but I'm not gonna have
Tell me more,
conversation.
Peter. Tell me more.
There's also the Pentagon, which once again, there's no footage and there's no debris. It's
Let's
yet another
the short answer.
let's hear what Peter has to say.
Short
about
answer is that we have a consortium of hundreds of thousands of architects that are smarter than our government officials in architecture, and they have created a symposium and a document, all signed by these elite architects all over the world, that what transpired on 9/11 with buildings falling the way they did is a statistical implausibility. And you can look up anytime right now, for example, buildings being on fire for more than 7 hours, and they don't collapse like a.
I tried to look into that, but it said that there's no buildings have been on fire for that long because firefighters usually come and put them out.
No, I just like 3 days ago saw an example. A building was on fire for 48 hours, steel frame, and the steel frame is perfectly intact.
Doesn't matter. I'm gonna give you what I told my children in how to see the world, because everything is fake, everything's gay, everything's AI. Right, it's our discernment our discernment as parents is going to be even more important for us to help protect our children from the rise of AI and fakery and AI slop. So I'll give it to you. The answer is, whenever you see something anywhere, whether it's on the internet or the mainstream media, you just say maybe. When you just say maybe, than the emotionality of the
I
moment.
like that. Yeah. I mean, I think that's how I think about a lot of these things.
That's the way to take it.
It's like there's things that to me are very obvious, like the whole COVID thing and then the psychosis thing that happened there. But like other things like 9/11, I'm not convinced. I'm kind of like, I've looked at the stuff and I've seen,
Exactly.
the stuff, and I'm like, I'm not convinced in the conspiracy narrative of that event. I'm open to it.
Yes.
Like, tell me about it more. Like, I'm open to it. Right.
Yeah.
You say the architect stuff, I look into it. Like, I'm open to it. I personally don't believe it yet.
Fair.
Czar.
And that's
kind of where I'm
Czar,
at.
we need
Yeah.
another Pearl Harbor type event, Czar.
yes. Well, I'm more in agreement with you, but I think for your listeners out there, that is one of the most healthy ways to stay rational in an irrational time.
Yeah.
When everyone wants to get emotional and reactionary.
So he, like, for example, he gets so emotional about these things, and that just turns me off.
So
Why do I get emotional? Because millions of people died
Well-
and there has not been a single arrest. And that's what pisses me off, is that we are just going to shove it under the rug and move on and not expect it to happen again.
But that's
Right?
because you emotionally believe your
Don't-
narrative.
Don't say anything.
Yeah.
Are you done?
Sure.
Maybe all that.
Maybe. That's how I feel. Maybe.
So-
Exactly.
So that's why.
That's exactly how I feel. Maybe.
Right.
Maybe your narrative is right. I'm not convinced yet of it,
Yeah.
but
So
maybe.
everything that I tell you, you say
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. I'm open.
And then I smile
I'm an
at
open
you
book. I'm
when you tell
open-minded
me
to it.
stuff, and I say maybe.
Yeah. Maybe.
And I think that is what's going to win us the day.
Mm.
Is that you and I can sit at complete opposite sides of the spectrum, be
Mhm.
completely in disagreement.
Yeah.
But as long as we both look at each other and say, maybe, we
Yeah.
can have a beer after this and be cool as fuck. Right?
I'll have a mocktail, but
right.
but I feel you.
Yeah.
I get what you're
You
saying.
understand my point, right? And so that is how you need to train your children
Mm.
is anytime they see something, the mockingbird media, the controlled apparatus, whatever, maybe.
I mean, there's so obviously so much bullshit that occurred with these intelligence agencies and all this stuff. It's like, it's hard to know what to believe. I mean, I'm just in the camp that, like, yes, a lot of the conspiracies aren't conspiracies, but not all the conspiracies are conspiracy. That's the way I think about it, right? So it's like, maybe I'm just not convinced on this particular thing. This thing I'm very convinced. This thing I'm not. So that's kind of the way I look at
Good.
it.
I'm right there with you. There are certain things I'm deeply
Yeah.
convinced
Yeah.
in. Some things I'm like more maybe. Some things I'm like, well, the evidence shows that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, in no moment will I ever get emotional to the point where it could create tension or division against my fellow man.
Yeah. I love that. I love the way you talk about
I
that,
can't do that.
because that's the biggest issue.
I love
for
you,
me.
man. Because
awesome.
I love you
Put on
guys.
this conversation.
And I love you guys because you're worthy of love. You're worthy of respect. You're created in God's image,
Mhm.
and I love the fact that we're able to do this. My favorite thing in life, Maddie, is to smash atoms. We're smashing atoms together. We don't know what's going to emerge from our time.
The
But-
quantum physics of reality
Right.
is really interesting.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to emerge from our time, Maddie. But I guarantee you that if we spend a lot of time together, something will emerge. And I have a pretty good hit rate.
I like that.
You know.
I'm gonna remind you of a quote the great Peter Saddington said: "Life rewards action, not intelligence."
Absolutely.
I like that. Tell me, unpack that.
As intelligent as I'd like to say, with my
Mm.
IQ at 169. Nice.
169. Did you really ping 169?
Yeah. Well, I measure
That's
as
sick.
much as I can.
69.
Yeah. Nice. I love it. It was the irony.
The universe is
irony of the
laughing at
gods.
us.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure if I took it again, it'd be like 150 or something. 170. I don't know.
Hey, man,
There's a
it's still
statistical
incredible.
range. As much as I have these master's degrees, I went through a PhD, I quit, and the life only rewards really action at the end of the day.
Mm.
Right.
It's like the man in the arena. Have you ever read that quote?
Yeah.
I always bring it up on this podcast because people always say something similar, but it's a great quote.
I love the man in the arena quote because the man in the arena is the one with the blood on his face, the sweat on his brow, the ones that are knuckled bare as everyone's moaning and jeering and sneering and saying, look, you didn't, you failed, you. Doesn't matter. The man in the arena looks up at the crowd and says, I am the one who does.
Oh, I got goosebumps.
Yes.
Maybe that IQ really is 169.
Well, nice. And so I have seen, now you can understand from my trauma and through my origin story,
Mhm.
that I am deeply biased towards doing. Why? Because in an orphanage, if you don't do, you die.
Mm.
Would I have liked to have that be the mental model and worldview that moves me forward? No. But have I channeled that trauma and suffering to
It's made you
productivity?
stronger. It's made you better.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Oh,
it's the
yeah.
adversity has created Peter
Exactly.
Saddington, the man, the father, the
Yeah.
entrepreneur.
Yeah. You can't
I can see that.
You can't destroy me. Why? Because I manifest beauty. I manifest positivity as much as I possibly can to everybody. And when you give, you give, you give, you love, you love, you love. And in most cases, we know those who love the most are the ones who fucking suffered the most.
Mm.
Right? And I'm not saying that I suffer the most, but you can see the suffering behind my eyes. Right? Like, I give as a function of the depth of my suffering and my pain. It is the only right and reasonable response for someone who has gone through hell.
Mm. Wow. Mm.
Can I drop a little bomb on this?
Mm.
What you say is powerful, unifying, and important, right? This idea of finding things that you can agree on and unity amongst humanity
Mm.
amidst all of the chaos, right?
Mm.
Fully with you. But I think what COVID taught us was that if you tolerate tyrants, you enable them.
Mm.
And we're living in a day and age where everybody's fucking watching football while our enemies conspire to destroy our civilization.
Mm.
And that's why I'm radicalized, because we're all comfortably distracted, comfortably numb. And what brings you both together today is what we all fundamentally believe is a solution to this problem.
Mm.
And that is Bitcoin.
Absolutely. Bitcoin's one of many solutions. Actually, from a monetary standpoint, it is the only solution.
Yeah, I mean, I think so much of what we do as humans when it comes to collaboration, when it comes to, just being social with other humans, I mean, money is the substrate, and
Yeah.
in the book they say, in the Bible, I think the quote is, "The love of money is the root of all evil."
Yes.
But money itself is a tool for human cooperation and human progress.
Yes.
So, Bitcoin being that underlying substrate layer, I think will benefit all of humanity because it takes the humanness out of it. It's just math and code.
You got it.
At the end of the day.
You got money. I see money, and you guys spending time, off mic. I think you can understand my mental model even clearer now if I when I say it. Is that I see money merely as that substrate. Money are the rails of action. So, money only does one thing. Let me make it very clear. I told this to my children. Money only accentuates what already exists. If you are a stingy person when you're poor, you're going to be a stingy person with money when you're rich. If you're poor with money when you're poor, you're going to be poor with money when you're rich. If you are generous in your money when you're poor, you're going to be generous in your money when you're rich. Money only accentuates who you are. If you're an asshole without money, you're going to be a bigger asshole with money. So I thank God that he has blessed me with money and income because my trauma has moved me to give. So all I do is focus on these two nonprofits, and I work with money and use that money to give and improve other people. That's the means and the mechanism. So money and Bitcoin being the hardest asset of money, the best money, it's you cannot debase this money.
Yeah, I think it's just like the foundational layer of everything. You can, like when you build on a foundation that's corrupted and has cracks and flaws and problems and can be manipulated, and you've got all these things built on top of it. It's like almost like a house of cards in a lot of ways. And I think that's why the way many of us view everything that's occurring.
Yes, absolutely.
You want to build on, physics and truth and mathematics and proof of work and actual, absolute scarcity. All these elements that Bitcoin so well encapsulates as this,
Yeah, I get excited hearing you talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin, it's literally, money itself is literally the most important social network that we have as humans, right?
Yes.
It's a way, it's speech, it's everything.
Yes.
Yes.
Money is how we communicate value. Right. So we have email as a protocol. That's how we email information to each other. But now with Bitcoin, we have an immutable system of communicating value. And that is a profound model, if you think about it, right? Especially because it's anti-fragile, right? It's able to withstand tax, right? It is agile and flexible and adaptable, right? It has thermodynamic principles, right? That allows it to be anti-fragile and to be mold and shape and persevere amongst all of the manipulation that we all know exists,
Mhm.
right? Bitcoin, I mean, we can go the Saylor approach, right? Saylor's he's the Bitcoin maxi of the maxis. And do I necessarily agree with his, let's say, financial engineering behind Bitcoin? Maybe is the short answer to that. But he's doing the Lord's work with pushing Bitcoin, because that's in my mind's eye, the math, you brought that up earlier. The math is what convinced me in 2011 that this was exactly where I need to be.
Yeah, what got you in so early in 2011? I was like still in high school, barely in high school.
October. I can tell you the article. Ars Technica, October.
Mm.
I read an Ars Technica article in October that talked about this programming language that had lost like 90% of its value in like a couple months or something. And I was like, wait. I write Java. I write PHP. I write code, right? I write
Mhm.
like, how does Java, how does C# lose value? It was like the idea itself was so confounding to me that I was like, what the hell? And so then I learned in this article that it was this thing called Bitcoin that had lost value. And then I learned, Maddie, that this Bitcoin was programmable money. And that is where I realized I can now program my own money. I can create an abstraction of this Bitcoin. And so that's what took me down the rabbit hole. As I started
Mhm.
forking Bitcoin. Then I met with Charlie Lee and I forked Litecoin.
Mhm.
And then I was like, I can now create my own value. And that is what got me into Bitcoin in 2011. Then I started creating content in 2016.
Mhm.
And then I bought the Lambo, and then, the rest is history. But yeah, it was the math.
Yeah. So you were actually fascinated with the code and the math
Oh,
and the
yeah,
underlying stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because like a code doesn't lose value. Code is in a agnostic entity, right? It's just the ones and zeros behind functionality. So for me, that didn't make a whole lot of sense. But once I realized you could program your own money, then I was like, oh shit, I think I can make a lot of money in this world.
Fascinating. Let me take you in a little bit different direction.
Yes, please.
Tell me what a certified Scrum trainer is. I'm going to ask you about this.
Okay. In 2001, a bunch of product development, software developers and product developers met together in Snowbird, Utah in 2001 to talk about how the complexity of work was increasing. Moving up to the 80s and 90s, the world was more of an IKEA world, a complicated world where we had directions, we had repetition, we had use cases that allowed us to create scalable systems. With the rise of the .com and the internet, we moved away from a complicated domain space into a complex domain space. And so in 2001, some of the luminaries of the Agile Manifesto, which you can go to agilemanifesto.org to find, came together and said, the world is becoming more complex. Therefore, the solution models of this new world need to be appropriate to that complexity. And Scrum was one of the solutions to that, authored by Ken Schwaber and Jeff Sutherland in 1997, which was built off of Takeuchi and Nonaka's article from 1986 called The New Product Development Game. And so Scrum is the lightest framework to building software fast.
Wow. That's fascinating.
Yes. So
is this what you wrote your book about?
Yes, I wrote 2 books about it.
Wow.
So I wrote 2 books about leveraging Scrum and Agile for fast product development. And so for me as a certified Scrum trainer, I have a distinct advantage as a venture fund, because most venture funds deploy it's a check and a prayer. I am a data engineer. I cannot do hopes and prayers. I'm tired of that. I'm not going to cut you a $50,000 check, $150,000, $250,000 check as a capital deployer and hope and pray it works out. So guess what? What I do is I cut startups a $250,000 check, and then I train them on how to build software faster using Agile and Scrum, thereby manufacturing speed, cycle time, and delivery time.
So like thereby an incubator in a way.
Thereby reducing risk exposure, longer burn rates, and essentially improving the odds that this startup will succeed because my money is now invested in it.
Fascinating.
Yes, I have an outsized advantage over most venture funds because most venture funds are created by MBAs who've never run a business and don't know shit about anything.
So tell me about the trials and tribulations you went through. You basically got fired from your own company, and then you were depressed a little bit afterwards. Tell me more about this.
Wow.
It seems like you've overcome a lot of adversity in your life, and I think that's
Yeah.
as a constant theme of why you're so successful.
Well, yes. So the short answer, yes, I have been fired from my own company. That was one of the worst moments of my life. Like I thought, you use the word depression. I thought depression was a weak man's game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought only weak men got depressed. I thought, and I didn't realize that it is something that through just, I'll give you the short answer. Depression comes when you put your identity into something that is ephemeral, outside of your control, moldable, shiftable, or extractable.
Mm-hmm.
When you put your identity in anything other than God and yourself, then you are on shifting sands. This investment is so important to me, Maddie. I raised $4.8 million for this startup.
Mm-hmm.
I raised money from Korea,
Mm-hmm.
from Korea, with some of the biggest companies out there, from Japan, from China, from San Francisco, Austin, Texas, LA, and New York. It was my greatest seed round for a startup, almost $5 million of a global consortium. It was like,
was this your very first project that you ever really raised capital for? Was this
this
or was this
this was my second. So my first company was built in 2005. I went 9.5 years and got it acquired, and then I started building venture capital funds, which is basically the trope of any successful entrepreneur. You get paid out, and then you take that money, you put it into venture funds. But I'm obviously a builder, so I continue to build, even while deploying capital. So this is one that was just so close to my heart. And in my naivete, as a neophyte still, even with a 9-year background of building a company and exiting.
No, I mean, I'm still learning stuff. This is my first company that I built here, and it's like,
it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard, man.
You learn shit.
Yeah.
You get punched in the face all the time. Like
especially when you bootstrap it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Mike Tyson quote. The Mike Tyson quote is, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Right. It's like, that is life. And so I put too much of my identity into this startup. And when my co-founder extracted me from it, I lost it. What do the teenagers say these days? I crashed out. I was like, how could you do this to me? I put my own money into this, like millions of dollars, right? And I raised $1 million. I did everything.
I mean, you just got kicked out as like, not equity wise, but just as
I had an option. I had two options.
Okay.
Either I quit and give over the equity, or I go legal and destroy the company, right? It's like, well, we now have people's families that are on payroll, right? We're now scaling. We have funding. So we're now paying for people's kids. Like the emotionality.
Yeah, trust me. I know, man. I feel that. When you have a lot of people that work for you, it's like they have families and bills and stuff. Yeah.
And that's your humanness. I don't want you to become an automaton where you no longer feel and care for your employees, but like there has to be a balance. And I didn't have that then in my naivete and my neophyteness, right? And even as an experienced operator with, at the time, a $2.5 million fund that was actually doing pretty well, my first fund. So I just put too much emotionality in it. I put my identity in. When it became extracted from me, I went into a 9-month depression. Like I wanted to kill myself. And the worst part about it is I didn't need the money. I already had a major exit, right? So like, because I had the money, I had the backing, I had that foundation that allowed me to go into risky bets, and then to put all my identity in that bet. And when that bet failed, like it destroyed my world. And so I had to rebuild again. And one of the things that helped me rebuild is I created a 70-part series called Things You Didn't Learn in School, where I literally just got on a podcast by myself. And I just said, I just told the entire world every one of my secrets. Like, this is how you manifest the world. This is how you overcome depression. This is how you learn how not to give a fuck about people's opinions. This is how you improve your life. This is how you need to think about relationships. This is how, I needed to purge everything out of me.
Yeah.
So that I could get back to a stasis of like, okay, my world was ruined. How do I fix this? And I went through, and I talk about that in my video. Like,
do you know who Sean French is?
The name sounds familiar. No,
I think he has like the biggest. I think his podcast is like the biggest podcast on Spotify.
Is it?
I had him on a couple of weeks ago, and he said something that really like resonated with me. It struck a chord. He said that like what you're describing. I think we had a similar discussion kind of about it, and he said like, that is not who you are. It's just what you do. So, and I think where you were at was like you had imbued that as like part of your identity, and you couldn't separate that.
Exactly.
But like when he said that to me, it was like, oh,
yeah,
like that just made perfect sense.
Exactly. Your identity is you, not what you do.
Exactly.
Because what you do will change and shift.
Mhm.
Your passions will change and shift, right? Your interests will change and shift. Life decisions, having kids will naturally and fundamentally change your priorities.
Mhm.
And,
Of course, yeah. I mean, we were just talking about it now. Like, you've got this event coming up, and I'd love to go to it this weekend and
Yeah.
the race. But
Good.
my son has football games. It's like,
priorities.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to have your life shift and change. And when you're married, like all these big life events will change your life. Your identity need not be wrapped up in it.
Mhm.
And that is, I think, the larger meta narrative and meta lesson here. Don't let that which you do become all that you are, because that which you do is only ephemeral. It's temporary. It's a vapor going to go away. And frankly, it is only the statistical few who actually find that one thing at 6 years old and then do the thing till they're 90.
Mhm.
The rest of us
Yeah.
are going to have to go through periods, which I hate, and I know you have been there.
Mhm.
We men, the worst period of our lives
Mhm.
is when we're flailing.
And don't have a purpose.
Flailing is the worst because you're expending energy
Mhm.
and you don't know where you're going. And I think all men have to go through a flailing period where it's like,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
am distraught, distressed, and exhausted, and the needle is not moving. That creates depression.
How'd you come out of your depression?
Giving. I went back to giving.
Mm.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I train Scrum Master and Agile courses every month. People look at me and say, like, you're a venture capitalist, you're an investor, you're traveling all over the world all the time. You're at 3 weekends a month. You're at track. Like, how do you have time to do a 16-hour 2-day course? The answer is it keeps me humble, and I love doing it, by the way. And I don't want to stop doing it because I love helping and training other people. And there's nothing more intimate than having a class of 12 people of leaders who are trying to improve their software, and I'm giving them the ways to do it. It is an act of servitude that, frankly, I hope I will never stop doing because it keeps me humble and keeps me grounded.
Wow. I know you got to get out of here, but before we wrap up, why don't you tell us about Bitcoin racing and what you're working on, what you're going to do this weekend?
Bitcoin Racing. If you go to bitcoinracing.us, we are a 501c3 nonprofit that supports the Collegiate Racing Series. And the Collegiate Racing Series is the best thing that you've never heard of for most of you guys, right? Because you guys know NCAA basketball, you know NCAA football, but you've never seen 60 universities racing wheel to wheel at Daytona.
Yeah.
So
when you showed me this earlier, I was like, "Oh, this is brilliant!
Yeah,
this is awesome."
I founded the Collegiate Racing Series, and because I'm a lover of Bitcoin, I said, let's make it easy for companies around the world, digital companies, Web3 companies, big financiers, to sponsor and get into the world of motorsports and students in the Collegiate Racing Series through the Bitcoin race team. And so for me, as we've talked about through this podcast, an avid lover of speed, my son's a pro driver, he's a Pro Spec Miata driver, for me to build the car, build it for my son, for him to race it, and to be the only 501c3 nonprofit in America pushing with our trademarked slogan, driving Bitcoin adoption to 48 universities all over America. I'm living the dream, Maddie. I get to race with my son, build cars with him, help educate 6 years old to 25 years old in motorsports, and to finally help universities all over the world create a racing team and a motorsports program because it's never existed before. It's awesome.
Wow.
So you can donate and you can tell your homies to go to bitcoinracing.us. If you have companies that want to sponsor and be in front of millions of eyeballs, hit me up.
Peter Saddington, this has been a fantastic conversation. I hope to have you back soon.
Dude, we're totally going to do it again.